Ahoy, matey. It's a good thing I'm not afraid of heights because I am 52 feet up in the air right now with the best view in the world at one of the most iconic spots in all of West Michigan, the Grand Haven Lighthouse.
That ruby red color radiating across the lakeshore, complemented by a lighted catwalk. This beacon for boaters and beachgoers does so much more than just direct you to the docks. It's a destination for people from all over the country.
We made the trip down here again. We're staying up in Muskegon, but we decided to come, I had to come back here. I think it's the views, the sunset. The last time we were here, that red lighthouse, just so striking against the blue sky and the water. It's gorgeous.
This pure Michigan backdrop providing an even deeper connection for Dave Carpin, the president of the Grand Haven Lighthouse Conservancy.
Joined the Coast Guard at 17, and 20 years later I ended up in Grand Haven and taking care of the 13 lighthouses along the lakeshore of Michigan here, from Michigan City to Frankfort.
Carpin is one of 13 volunteers who help manage the lighthouses for the city of Grand Haven. That includes Bill Pushaw, who grew up in the area.
I played on the pier early on. I surfed next to the pier with my friends, and now I'm working on it, which is
It's come full circle.
Full circle, yeah, it's just wonderful.
This exact layout is what Pushaw has seen his entire life, but it hasn't always looked like this. The first lighthouse was built at the mouth of the Grand River in 1838. It was also a 5-room cottage. Pictures of it, though, don't exist, and it was destroyed by Lake Michigan in 1852. Just 3 years later, the creation of a second lighthouse sitting on a sand dune 150 feet above the beach.
This structure right here, this round room, was actually removed from the official lighthouse, which you can see way back on the hill. This piece, what I've been told, was built around 1860s or 1870s. Wow. It was taken off of that house and moved out here at some point.
The pier was eventually extended to its current length, and in 1904, a new 52-foot lighthouse was built at the end of the pier. Yeah, remember that same one from just a minute ago? But it's no longer at the end. That is now the inner lighthouse, and that change came in 1907 when it was moved back about 600 feet.
And put a lantern in the lighthouse behind us and created what they call a range light system, where if you line those two lights up from the lake, it brings you to Grand Haven.
But not just any kind of lights. This massive lens was installed in that second lighthouse in 1856, built in France by Augustus Fresnel, and fittingly calling it the Fresnel lens.
He developed this technology where he can refract the light and magnify a light bulb or a lantern or a gas lantern so that the mariners could see it out at sea.
It used concentric circles of glass to focus light, and a rotating panel inside could produce a flash visible from about 25 miles out. Then in 1904, it was moved inside that 52-foot lighthouse and stayed there until 1979, eventually replaced by modern technology.
The solar energy is stored in a battery. They collect the energy during the day. The sun makes energy through the solar panels. It's stored in the battery, and the battery powers the lantern at night.
This pier is a navigational aid, and today boats have GPS, so they can find their way in here.
Now we're on the bottom floor. What purpose does this room serve here?
Well, this served as a quarters for the people. They had a bunk bed set over here. Over on this side was the lavatory, or the head facility, the bathroom.
Important room.
Important room for the people that stayed here. And then the bow section housed 7 water tanks, freshwater tanks that were refilled by the Coast Guard ships, would bring fresh water, pump it in here so the crew had something to drink.
That crew worked year-round, 2 days on, 2 days off. That lasted from the time this outer lighthouse was created until the late 50s, early 60s.
And in the winters, they had to get a little creative to try to get people out of here because of how harsh the conditions
Every now and then they had to bring a fire axe or whatever, and an ice pick to chip their way into the lighthouse so the guys could get out. Well, these were the air tanks for the fog signal. It would sound when it was foggy, and the keeper would have to turn it on and maintain it while it was foggy, so you'd have to stay up as long as it was foggy and make sure it sounded every 60 seconds.
So obviously a lot of things have changed over the years, including the ground that we're walking on right
Absolutely. Now. In 1925 or so, they took the wooden pier and capped it with cement. And then about 5 years ago, the Army Corps of Engineers put a new cap on top of that and raised it up about 1.5 feet.
And then the thing we're walking right next to, the catwalk.
The catwalk.
What exactly is this doing here? Because I imagine the purpose it served in the past is much different than what it is there for today.
Absolutely. Back in the old days in the early 1900s, it was a wooden catwalk. and it served the purpose of allowing the lighthouse keeper to get to the lighthouse when the waves were crashing over the pier. So it kept him a little safer than walking on the pier.
In its lifespan of more than 100 years, this pier has made memories for millions. But unless you were part of a tour like we were, not a single one of those visitors could actually go inside the lighthouse. But pretty soon, that'll change.
And part of the renovations is going to be changing this room that we're in right now, which doesn't look like much.
Doesn't look like much.
It will be a very popular room.
It will be a hot spot in the future, yes, sir. Our intention is to change this into a interpretive center and gift shop, so we can make enough money selling trinkets to the tourists to maintain the lighthouse.
Carpin hopes to have that ready by next spring or summer. And when those first few groups step foot inside, he says that moment will be just as special as the lighthouses themselves.
It's like getting to the end of the rainbow. You know, it's been a journey just for the city of Grand Haven. They took it over 10 years ago, and they're still trying to get to the point where they can be safe for the public and open it up.
We're almost there.
We're almost there.
It has been quite the journey for this destination. But no matter the layout, no matter the technology, the Grand Haven Lighthouse has illuminated the waterways and lit up hearts.
It's just something very special. It's been here for so long, and it's for me, it's a real joy to preserve the history of it.
Does this view ever get old to you, especially on a day like this? This is perfect.
No, and it's always changing. It's amazing how God can make that, and I hate to bring religion into it, but such a beautiful place change every day.
Yeah, so it'll be really, really exciting to have that gift shop sometime next year, but you don't have to wait until then to go inside, because tomorrow they are hosting an open house. They are giving out free tours of that outer lighthouse at the end of the pier. That's happening from 5 to 7. Anyone can go. Make sure you tell them I sent you too. Maybe recite a fact or two from that story. I bet you will light up their world.